Good morning everybody. So for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm the area ranger here at Mount Stewart. My name's Toby. Bit of a mad rush to get everything done today because I didn't want to have to cancel this, but I've basically got a little guest here with me. It's not an intended guest, it's my son Flynn. I had a bit of a nightmare with sort of childcare cover at short notice today, so he's with me and he's going to behave hopefully. But he's also going to be my eyes out there as well, so he's going to be able to spot perhaps some of the insects before I even get a chance while I'm busy talking to you guys and looking at the screen and the comments. So that'll be nice. So main theme for today, farming for nature, for those of you who are still joining. We'll be talking about some of the sort of interventions, more in particular like the strips behind me. And we were going to go up onto Clark's Hill today, which... just for reference, so New Hill here, this is the Temple Field. Last month's live stream actually finished kind of back this way a little bit. So we're going to head straight on through. We were going to go up on the Clark's Hill, which backs onto the gardens. Slight change of plan because I was hoping to get joined by a few people on the way, but as ever, things change very rapidly here at the moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to head on through and we're going to actually go up onto Bean Hill. Because I know there was someone asking, I think it was Fiona was asking about obviously seeing the sunflowers. So they're just starting to come out. There's actually a few here, but just up on Bean Hill where they get a bit more direct sun, they've already started coming out on the sowings there. And given that we've got this theme of farming for nature today, I figured that we'll focus on that. Got a nice few updates to talk about along the way. Just obviously general property things that's been going on. And of course, anything we see along the way and your questions, which is always good. So, without further ado, good morning everybody. Let's give some few shout outs. Good morning Barbara. Morning Hazel. Good morning Astrid. Morning Jane. Morning Joe. Joe says hello Flynn. He's smiling. Good morning Aline. So, alright, I think we'll kick off with a bit of a closer look at literally what I'm standing in at the moment. So those of you that saw the lead-in image for this that I put out yesterday, there's a nice sort of reframe of it minus the tractor. This is one of our cover strip sowings that we've been having here for quite a long time. I'm just going to step out of it. There we go. So those of you who have been here, thank you audience. Okay. Those of you that have obviously been regular visitors here will know this was one of the first main interventions that we did within the landscape here. The fence lines used to be here and here. And basically, as we introduced the trails around the estate, we didn't want people to feel that they were the ones being fenced in, but also wanted to obviously improve the various habitats and food sources for various wildlife that come to the estate and obviously enhance it. So one of the key things that we did here is by pushing back the boundaries a few metres either side, and this area and this area were annually sown with a specific bird cover mix, and so that's specifically for the winter feeding birds. So we've made a few changes this year in the sense that we've moved this left-hand strip here to a perennial with some annuals, sort of all year round insect mix, and that means that we don't have to keep tilling the ground on this side. So this is a very similar mix that has gone in that we reseeded the Ploughman's Hill meadow with, and I'll have a look at that in a minute. But this one here, this is the one that we still sow as the bird cover mix, and we're probably going to be moving to every other year that we'll put this in, because there's a good seed bank in the soil now. But the main thing about this is, so it's August to sort of late summer, August flowering, so it's quite good for the later in the year insects. But the main reason this is here is for the seeds, and it's the seeds that feed various migratory and overwintering birds. So anyone who's walked here is familiar with their birds in the winter know that we get big flocks of linnet coming along here, we get reed bunting, likes of chaffinch of course, and then lots of other sort of intermittent birds as well. So we'll just take a closer look at what's going on in here. So you can see some obvious stuff here that's in here. So we've got various barleys and corns that go in the mix. We have quite a extensive arable sort of rotation within the field structures here at Mount Stewart, and we work with our tenant farmers to sort of make that happen. And this year, every single barley field went in with at least a 2-metre strip of sort of the beetle and insect friendly mixes that went in with some of the bird cover as well. So we're going to take a look at those later on as well. So we've got oats in the mix as well. So these are just the normal oats. So you also get, if you've ever seen in a field, you sort of get ones that are up about this height. That's false oats, which is it's a native species of grass. We've got red shank here. Now, I suppose from a farming and gardening point of view, a lot of people maybe think that this is a weed, but it's all right. I mean, it's an annual, so where you've got disturbed soil, it will run away with itself that first year, but it soon tempers down. But again, doesn't look like much, but the insects absolutely love this. And then, of course, it goes to seed, and it will hold its seeds and drop its seeds on the ground. And you'll find these flocks of linnet that come here, like 200 plus flocks of linnet, they'll be hopping around through the ground here, and obviously hoovering up on seeds. And of course, those of you know that we have the likes of barn owls here and long-eared owls, of course. You also get the small rodents that are in here too. And those owls will hunt these field margins for those rodents as well. So I've seen quite a few other people joining here as well. Good morning, Liz. Morning, Christine. And morning, Heather. Morning, Trevor. Oh, Trevor lives in Spain now. There you go. So he's watching from Spain. Missing the place. No worries. So not missing the... Well, do you know what? It was a gorgeous day this morning, but we've got a bit of a hazy mist that's come in. But it's like everything. There's no such thing as the wrong weather, just the wrong clothes. So let's have a closer look at what else we've got going on here. So we've obviously got the likes of some of the sunflower that go in. So you can see they're just swelling up to burst at the moment. You can see there's one just popped over there. So I mean, you're not going to expect these to be towering things here, but they will provide seed sources, of course, when they go to seed themselves. What else? We've got some rapeseed, of course, which is the yellow flower. Just bring that in. There we go, there's a nice focus on that. Again, the seeds are really important here. Oh, Flynn's right next to me. He just spotted, so it's quite a dull day today. Where did it go, Flynn? Did you see?
Yeah, it's still...
Oh, there we go. So it just shows you how well blended they are. So can everybody see that just there? Move a little closer. So it's a dull day today. A little cooler than it was yesterday. So this is a green veined white butterfly. There's 4 main species of white butterfly we get in Northern Ireland. I think everybody sort of generically calls them the likes of cabbage white, but they have their own species. There we go. So they're all at rest at the moment, with it being a bit dull, sort of threatening maybe a little bit of mizzle. But if it was a bit sunnier, they'd be out flying. Well done, Flynn, for spotting that. He's all proud of himself there. So what else have we got in this mix kicking in here? So there's a little bit of chicory in here. I can't quite see it at the moment. We've obviously got some of the millet as well.
What's that?
Oh, there we go. There's chicory. There we are. And can't see any millet off there. It's a good old mix of stuff in here, but this really comes into its own in autumn. And it's quite impressive. I can actually see a few more butterflies at rest there. You see one just over there. There you go. So these are all the second generations of butterflies. So the likes of green vein white have 2 generations a year. So these are the ones that were laid in spring. They've been feeding away on their various food plants, which are mostly grasses, and they have then pupated, hatched out, and now they're going to lay eggs again, and those eggs will then overwinter, and they'll overwinter as larvae and caterpillars, which will then go right the way through into spring and hatch out again. Have you spotted something else, Flynn?
Yeah, I did see, one of those flying things go very fast.
A grasshopper? Was it jumping?
No?
No?
It was like, one of those like...
You think what it was like, and then you can tell me in a minute. Right. So, we'll move over to this. There's a bit more of a meadow mix that's gone in here. So, we'll start off with that classic photo that I was looking at earlier on. So this is wild carrot. You can see it sits quite tall. Easily mistaken for the likes of cow parsley, hogweed and things like that. And the key one with this, just look at the flower head here. Can you see there's one sort of pink or purple flower in the middle? Right there. That's the male flower. There we go. Joe says, well done, Flynn, for spotting the green vein white butterfly. So this wild carrot, member of the umbellifer family. So yes, it's kind of similar to the likes of the cow parsley, hogweed. Oh god, there's loads in this. Parsnip sit in that family, of course, as well. So what's really nice here is this is just starting to set seed now. So we've got the ones that are still in full flower there. And what happens is, as they set seed, they actually implode in on themselves. Can you see? So it sort of folds in on itself like this. Those seeds then mature, and then they'll drop, literally just drop off, kind of like a tumbleweed, and then they get blown around. So this is how they have some of their seed dispersal. And of course, things on the ground will then pick these up and eat them, of course, and then of course they'll seed as well. So they're biennials. So these would have been growing in the soil here last year, and the sowings that we originally did, and now they're all flowering. So if you remember Ploughman's Hill Meadow over there, the first year all the annuals flowered, so that was the likes of the bright yellow corn cockle and corn marigold. So yeah, corn marigold and poppy and so on. And then the second year we had lots of wild carrot and yarrow through there. So this is basically similar to that. So next year we'll probably get a lot less of this, and we'll have a lot more of the understory plants which are growing through here. And they've, amazingly, it's been about 2 weeks and they've already gone over. And that's this one here, which is the knapweed. So kind of looks like a thistle. And I'll see if, Flynn, see if you can find me some of the purple knapweed that's still in flower. Do you remember what that looks like? No? Have a look up there. See if you can find any purple flowers for me up ahead. Go on. Go on, you go on ahead. Because it's gone over so quickly that we've not been able to really capture it very much. See, I know there's still some in flower on Ploughman's Hill Meadow, but most of this is going to be harvested this year as well soon. So weather's not been great to do the meadow harvests yet. Normally it would be around mid-August that we'd be doing the meadow cuts, but do you know what? Sometimes it's nice to change the regime of how things cut, so some things will go to seed, whereas previous years they might not have. So it all mixes it up a little bit. Now, who was it? I think it was John, a chap called John, was asking about obviously the farming and the cattle and what's happening. So this is Alan Angus's herd here, and we'll see some of his other herds. So these are his new this year's cattle, which are the shorthorns, sorry. And he's obviously got a mixture of breeds, and he's basically breeding through a shorthorn herd at the moment. And we'll see some of the other ones up there as well. So at the moment they're on paddock grazing setup. So this is Bell's Bank, sorry. As you can see all the white flowers here. So it's actually quite a strong mix of clover through this. So lots of goodies in that for the cattle that they'll be feeding on. And of course, it's all in flower as well, which means the insects are loving it too. And as a legume, it'll put nitrogen into the soil, so it fixes nitrogen from the air, so we don't need to put anywhere near as much inputs into this land to maintain this pasture for good grazing for the cattle themselves, which is great. So it's just, ways of looking after itself. So you can really see in this mix, actually, you see the sort of the layers. So we've got that top flowering layer, move down, and we've got the various grass species seed heads. Lots of different species here. So I'm terrible with my grasses. And then moving on down, you can see how dense it starts to get. And then we've got some of the bird's foot trefoil here, just creeping up through, which is a yellow flower. There's some that's in flower just there. Let's get that to focus. There we are. It's a food plant of the common blue butterfly. And then you go right on down here, we've got various speedwells, we've got some plantains. This is one of the plantains, not sure which one, possibly ribwort. You can see actually, here's one of the leaves from the wild carrot. So anybody who grows their carrots will recognise that. So you can get an idea how similar the plants are. There we go. And they go right on down here, and we've obviously got some clovers mixed in there. And a real nice dense coverage for all sorts of insects and rodents to live in down there. And it's quite damp today actually down here. So all these plants are nicely deep rooted, so even in the really dry weather that we've had, they have done really well. Being able to really suck up water from down low, they bring all those nutrients up from the subsoils as well. So it means that it can, they basically fare a bit better in drought. So we're going to get moving. Flynn, did you say you'd found one? Ah, no, that's the red shank. We'll see if we can find some more up here. Look. So, and we've got some burrs here. These are obviously always fun for people to play with. There we go. Remember these, Flynn?
No, they're not.
There you go. Great fun. So, does anybody ever remember any of the fun plants I used to play with as a child? So, sticky billy and goosegrass. So you're sticking it to people's backs. That's always quite fun. So we'll get moving on up over to the piggery, and we'll actually have a chance to quickly look at the piggery meadows. Last time we didn't because there were some people sitting there. It's a lovely, lovely little sun trap there with all sorts of, well, there's loads of meadow brown, there's ringlets in there. Quite often see peacock and red admiral basking on the stonework this time of year, so we'll see if we can see anything there. So Anne said, just walked past you. Yes, so I couldn't say hello. I was amazed to see the sunflowers as I walked out of the blue trail onto the red. Wonderful sight. The wildlife meadows are really coming on. Yeah, so I think we're about four-ish years into these various interventions to improve and enhance the habitats here, and yeah, you're starting to really see the benefits now, Anne. Yeah, so I'm glad you're enjoying it. So hello, see you up over there ahead of me. Oh, look, this is actually good. So just you can see, even just walking a few more metres ahead in this area here, the bird's foot trefoil has really taken off in this section. You can see it's looking really good through there, and there's obviously some red clover there as well. Did you see? I think that was one of the little moths, Flynn. We'll see if we can disturb one, because there's a lot of the grass phenas that was it Agrifilia tristellas and the Cumanella. I'm terrible with my Latin remembering the names, but we'll see if we can disturb some. But these guys feed on the grasses like this, and what they'll do is they'll actually bore inside the stems. That's where they'll live, and then they hatch out, and of course they become various adult species and food. Did you see a bee as well? Did you, Flynn? Oh yeah. So like, oh, he's really faded. There he goes. So yeah, this time of year, a lot of the worker bumblebee species are looking a bit washed out and faded. We've also got here, this one here. This is self-heal. Okay. It's almost gone. It's almost gone to seed here. So we're just finishing its flowering. So this is probably one of the ones that actually, if you stop cutting your lawns at home, you'll probably see self-heal come up as one of the first sort of more native wildflowers will come up. Just if you change the cutting regimes in your gardens, it's amazing. Well, here's a question for you all actually while we're walking along. Would it be worth me doing like a little bit of a focus on even just like the little small interventions you can do at home in your gardens? I could even do it in my garden at home, because obviously it's kind of like a textbook of all the things that you can possibly do, even in sort of medium space, but they're all scalable down to tiny little gardens as well as big gardens as well. So yeah, let us know in the comments if you think that's worth doing. You alright there, Flynn? Have you spotted anything else?
No.
No? Okay, well you go on ahead and you see if you can find something for me. And everybody who's watching. Go on, okay. So I'll just spin around, here we go. So this Beswick trefoil here is actually looking cracking. Real nice thick understory, and of course we'll take this whole strip along with Ploughman's Hill Meadow as a hay crop or haylage crop, probably it'll go in. And of course that then supplies the cattle over winter. That's that stock leaf that's gone to seed. So again, this is a really good point. So people think, oh, docks is a big old weed, but look at all those seeds on there. Every single and Again, a lot of the finches absolutely love these seeds. Can you see all the little seed dots just in the middle of the sort of the red leaf? It's quite a chunky seed on dock. Really good food source right the way through the winter, and they'll pretty much stay on the stems for a long time as well. And of course, it would be amiss of me not to say the nettles, of course. So, hands up who's seen obviously all my nettle videos, preaching the benefits of having a small nettle patch in your garden. It's really good. It's really good, definitely. So, pick up a few more of the questions that have come here. So, there we are. So Sheila says, yeah, we call it Sticky Willy or Robin Run the Hedge. Yeah, there's lots of different common names for the goosegrass, Sticky Willy, Sticky Billy. I know it as goosegrass, coming from sort of Somerset, Devon way. Steph says it'd be a good idea, so we'll have to do a little tour in the garden. Okay, Finn's just lifted one of the burr flowers here, so it's actually still spiky, but it's just still in flower there. I don't know if it'll focus, but you can see where the chap who invented Velcro got the idea from. Can't really see it on the camera, but each little stem's got a tiny little hook on it. They even actually stick to my skin. That's how sort of sticky they are. They do a really good job. And so of course, when animals go by them, they'll stick. And then of course they'll drop off somewhere down the line. And that's how they disperse their seeds. Really good, it's really clever. So, it's a lovely still day. I was almost hoping for a windy day because I've made another investment. I've got a wind muff microphone, just because I know on a few of the live streams it's been a bit windy in places, and you get that sort of ruffle noise. So that's probably a good investment ahead of winter. So we've got a few good live streams planned. So the next one we're focusing on red squirrels, because it's September and it will be, I think it's a few days before Red Squirrel Week. So we'll be back at the hide for that, talking red squirrels and all that sort of thing as well, because I know we've done a few live streams at the hide before and they've always shown up. And of course our hide is still closed at the moment, unfortunately. It's one of the things that we're really struggling to be able to get open, one with capacity and all the various legislation and restrictions that we have on the whole COVID precautions and so on. So I'll spin around here and have a quick look at the meadow before we go on. So the piggery meadow here, that's actually a meadow brown butterfly. Just going to see if we can get a closer look where it lands. Here we are. Let's get quite a nice look at that one. There we are. So one of the bonuses of it being a slightly dull day means that they're not quite so flighty as normal. So the meadow brown and the ringlet butterfly, I talked about this on the last slide. Their food plant is cocksfoot grass. This is cocksfoot. A better view of it there, so you can get an idea where it gets its name from. Focus, there we go. So really common grass you'll find in those sort of rough margins, which is why we leave this. We just let it do its thing. And of course what happens is they'll be laying their eggs down here on the stems. The larvae hatch out and they feed at night time, so they actually go down into the grass tussocks itself and then crawl up at night time and feed on the grass stems. So they're just coming to the end of their sort of main flight season now, so mid to late August. Let's have a quick look through and see if we can see any ringlets. Again, like there were hundreds here yesterday, but just not the way the weather is. They're all tucked away today. You can see a lovely mix here. Now, if you're like me and you obviously get the old nerd going on here when we're looking through the likes of the grass swards. So we've got these old rough stony patches, which means you've got these beautiful basking areas with various species of moss here. There's a different one again. You've got a lot of these coalfoot from sort of dandelion family.
Where's the moss?
You spot another moss, did you, Flynn?
No.
No?
I don't know where the moss is.
There's a few about. So there are a lot of day-flying moths here. I'm just trying to see them. Have you found one, Flynn?
Yeah, I have found an ant.
Oh, it's an ant. Okay. Right, so we'll have a quick look at some of the others. And we've got a little bit of ragwort here. And actually there is one of the meadow browns just resting and having a feed on it. if you can see its proboscis just feeding in the centre of the flower there. Having a good old feed there. That's lovely to see. So yeah, meadow brown butterfly, that one. I'm just looking around, you know, again it's, you know, it's quite a dull day, but if you look at all, there's so many other little insects here. It's one of the little yellow-tailed fly species of some kind. They're feeding away through here. This purple flower here is rosebay willowherb. And this is the food plant of all sorts of things, probably most famously the elephant hawk moth. So anybody seen an elephant hawk moth or their larvae before will know that they're incredibly impressive. So the caterpillars are about as sort of thick as my finger here, with huge big eyes on the end of it, and they'll be feeding away down here somewhere if we can see any. And of course the moths themselves are the big sort of luminous green and pink hawk moths, about the size of the hatch into, so say my central palm, just below my thumb there, quite big. What have you got there, Flynn? Just spotting various, yeah, there's lots of different bee species having a feed on here, but they're very busy. Anyway, we'll get moving on. We're disturbing quite a few of these Tristella moths here. Where did that land? Them absolute masters of disguise. There it goes. So you want to see where it lands? There it is. So I'll get a side view here. It's a little worn. Can you see it? It's just there on the stem of this hogweed. See if I can get a bit closer. Focus. Nope, there it goes. Tiny little micromoth species. There are hundreds of these. It's kind of all up there, just going over their peak at the moment. Anyway, we'll get on going here and pick up some questions along my way. All right. So any more questions? Like, pile them in. You know, I like the questions to help sort of steer the conversation. And so you know, guys, seeing all sorts today. So this on the nettles here. Just get it to focus. So this is the larval web of what looks like just hatching out. And he's going to focus. See if I can get this to focus. Focus. There we go. Just sort of see the caterpillars there. Looks like, I can't quite tell what to say. I think that they're either small tortoiseshell or peacock. Just going over there. So yeah, nettles, food plant of the small tortoiseshell and peacock butterflies. I just started seeing a few peacocks hatching out, and same with the second generation of small tortoiseshells. They love these nettle banks. Absolutely incredible for them. Yeah. I saw the first small copper butterfly, which we should have loads of those at the moment, but I'm not seeing very many this year. It's a bit of a shame. And their food plant is sorrel, but they also use dock as well. I've only seen one so far this year, and there's two places that they're mostly frequent here at Mount Stewart. One is Piney's Rough Meadow, which is the one that we very briefly talked about in the Little Meadows video that myself and Ollie did. Excuse me a minute, I'll just get this hooked up. Doing all this one-handed is a bit of a nightmare. There we go. So, yeah, there was all sorts going on in that meadow, and it's looking really good this year. It's so frustrating that meadow doesn't have any phone signal at all, because we could spend a whole live stream just in Piney's Rough Meadow. It's quite an impressive meadow. So we'll head on through Piggery Woods. Anybody watching been on any of my red squirrel walks over the years will probably know that we have just up here is one of the monitoring stations, and this is where all of some of the blessed bluebell woods are here. So back in May, we had various bluebell videos. This is where most of those were. You can actually see where it's all brown is where the foliage from the bluebells has already died back, and it's got all the seed heads there now, and basically just got the ferns. That's the understory at the moment. And the same goes on the other side, which is mostly young sycamore in this section here. We're not quite sure what's going to happen with the future of our woodland management plan, how much we're going to get stuck into it. I suppose there's as good a chance as any to talk about the big elephant in the room, which is the impending redundancies that are proposed under our consultation at the moment within National Trust. So, was it 1,200 people in the whole organisation are at risk of substantial change or total redundancy at the moment. And that's, it's the same for a lot of businesses out there. We're going through the processes at the moment. Don't quite know what that's going to look like at the end of it, and some things are unfortunately going to have to stop in terms of what we've been able to do before. But I don't think it's not all the doom and gloom that it potentially could be. I think it's a chance to kind of hit reset and look at how we can operate moving forwards in a post-COVID world, and all those buzzwords that are flying around at the moment. So, a couple of other updates from the property. So, obviously, it's mandatory in Northern Ireland now to wear masks in enclosed spaces, so that includes our shop and tea room. So when you're visiting, remember to bring your mask. Obviously, if you haven't got one, unfortunately, you will be refused entry as it's a legal requirement. So that one's completely out of our hands. But obviously, the wider estate, you're all good. Just usual maintaining your social distancing requirements and so on. And just remember, just up here, quite a underrated plant, the sallow. So usually this time of year, most of the foliage of this would actually be eaten by one of the ermine moths. Haven't seen a single web this year, which is interesting. They have boom years and bust years, so this must be a bit of a bust year. But there's a little shield bug there. Oh, looks like it's been predated or parasitised. Can you see there, Flynn? Look?
Yeah.
You see how its wings hanging out a bit? But it's stuck in quite an exposed place. Chances are, I bet that has been parasitised by one of the parasitic wasps. And it's been basically laid eggs inside them. They'll then hatch out. So yeah, it's a mad little process, but it's incredibly fascinating. Little cluster of 7-spot ladybirds in there. So this is just on 2 little branches here, and I'm seeing lots of insects alone on this dull day. Can you see them there, Flynn? Look, there you go, just in there. And of course, a good old bank of brambles. If anybody likes blackberries, it's going to be a very, very good blackberry year this year. Those first blackberries have just started to ripen up on the first flower heads, but so we've probably still got another week, 2 weeks until those blackberries are at the best. So yeah, make sure you take a little sample on your next walk. Funny enough, did anybody see how good the wild raspberry harvest was this year? I mean, that was a really good harvest. I was gorging myself here when we were out doing our work and so on. Oh, look at that, that's typical, the wind's picked up. I've already left the wind mic at home. Okay, hopefully it's not too windy. I'll just head on up. So we're going to just stroll over to the edge here. We'll just look across the watermelon meadows, because this is when we did the last live stream with George. We were talking about farming. Obviously, everything had kind of only just been planted, seeded, and it was early spring. Not much had really been done. This is the second full rotation of grazing we've had on these 2 fields here. So this one here and the other upper water park, which actually the cattle are still on. Both that field over there was sown with a herbal A mix, so it's a whole selection of plants that will basically, they've got lots of various properties to them, very nutrient rich, and basically make for a more stable structure within soil. And what we're doing, we're paddock grazing this square by square. So they just came off that field yesterday, and they've got the next one just on there up against the fence line. This one was grazed in 2 halves. It was absolutely rocketed away. They've been off this for about a week, I think it is. And I say, it's obviously got the stalks there, but the growth is already rocketed up. We've got the clover, got the red shank through there, of course, and a couple of different species of grasses, some of the plantains, got a few little speedwells there. Lovely little flowers. But again, this is the first year of this field. The other one has rocketed away. I mean, it's almost got too much clover in it. Shame we can't walk over there because I do get hit a little bit of a dead zone in that field. But we'll mission up through this little windy bit here and get up to the margins just up the top here. So again, sorry for if it goes a little windy here. We'll see if we can get up through. Go on, someone must have some questions. I'm amazed nobody's got any questions today. Let's post up yesterday with vegan cream teas are back in the tea room. I know Patricia and the team have been absolutely slogging away to try and get as much of our normal food and beverage offer back under our restrictions at the moment. So slowly rebuilding some of our menu, and of course Monday, Tuesday and Wednesdays, I think Thursdays as well, we're part of that Eat Out to Help scheme as well, so you can get your government supported £10 off your meals on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, possibly Thursdays, I can't remember. So yeah, eat cake. It all goes back into doing what we're doing here, which is no mean feat, and it's certainly for the long term. I think this is, and everything sort of reflecting about what's happening at the moment. I think that's going to be the real big suffer. The thing that's going to suffer here is the long term sort of process of what we want to do here in terms of wildlife conservation, access and so on. It's going to really slow down progress, but hopefully we'll get there. So here's Alan's other herd here. I'll just pass up here. There we are. Okay. Guys, typical is picked up so windy. I'll just try and shield the microphone. So the damselflies have pretty much been over already. They went over very quickly too. Up through this little rough laneway you would usually see lots up through here, and just this last week they've pretty much all finished up. We might see the odd one. Dragonflies are pretty much at their peak at the moment. We'll see a lot less of those around compared to damsels, but they are about. If I see any, I'll certainly try and get them on camera. But as everything, not everything plays full, and it is a little bit of a chilly day today. So I'll see how hazy and misty it is. Normally you can see the lock down there. There we go. Oh, so heading up onto Bean Hill. You can already see the sunflowers are like almost completely out here already. There's the rest of Alan's herd. Most of the calves here are quite well on already. That's what we'll see. I'm gonna rush on ahead here because just on the brow of this hill it is quite windy, and of course I haven't got the mic, which is typical. So I'm gonna mission on over here. There we are. See, they think they're going to get a little bit of feed. They're probably just finishing up this field. You can see they've grazed this section down quite nicely. They'll get moved along soon. They're a good bunch. This herd's great. There's one of the bulls. Well, all I can say is at least that drowns out the wind noise. Right. Right, I'm going to have to catch my breath after missioning on here. Okay. The cattle have obviously all followed us here. So, Bean Hill. I think we talked about this very briefly before on the last live stream. So, originally this was proposed to be the site for Mount Stewart House at here. Would have been connected to the farm complex and the walled gardens which sit just over here, just behind the trees here. Wow. Did you tell him to be quiet, Flynn? Yeah. Just all suddenly gone quiet. So yeah, it was proposed to be up here originally, and you can actually see some of the infrastructure was put in for this. So this here is the kind of like a ha-ha basically, and it rings the whole side of Bean Hill. Obviously that never happened. The original house was extended as we know it today, obviously just down over there. And instead there's a big holding reservoir. It's like a big pit reservoir that would have been like the big huge header tank for all the farm complex and the walled gardens originally. That's all filled in now, but you can actually see the old kind of well head for it, pump head. We'll try and finish up here. And I'll tell you why, because I think the signal will drop out just as we go into the woods here. But we'll see if we can get to this pump just to show you, because I know obviously it's not normally an open area for visitors, and it's a lovely big old cast iron pump. But in the meantime, I'm going to see here. I'll just climb up on the top. So you can see the margins that went into all the barley fields this year. A big 2 metre margin full of all like insect friendly bird cover mixes that went in. So see the sunflowers are already really popping up here compared to down there. And I talked about the different oat species without falling over. Here's false oats. There we go. False oats grass, and an annual species. Really sits quite tall relative to everything else. So I see it there. Really tall. Obviously a big flush of red shank just here. Yes, you know, it can be an arable weed, but do you know what? It's an annual, and it's absolutely fantastic for the birds and insects. So here on the margins, it's perfect to be in here. There you go. Little corn marigold. Being enjoyed by a few fly species. I think we're going to move away from the cattle here. They are noisy. Aren't they noisy? There we go, move on up through. So you can see the structure of this margin. Really quite a nice dense buffer. And it acts as a corridor, obviously through this field in particular where we've got a split crop. Acts as a corridor and it connects the woodland fringes together. So it's, you know, it's a bug, beetle and insect highway, which is absolutely brilliant. And again, yesterday when I walked this section, absolutely heaving with various day moths, butterflies, lots and lots of different fly species, quite a few solitary bees and various other, there's actually still a few soldier beetles just about there. There's one just there. Common soldier beetle. Well, you can see lots of those on the umbellifera species. And still some oxeye daisies coming out. They're mostly going over now as well. Really, really easy to get the oxeye daisies growing in your own garden, and they'll just seed themselves quite happily. What else have we got going on here? See the rank grasses, which are great for the various other butterfly species I've already talked about. But have you spotted something, Flynn? One of the cows sounds like an elephant. I don't know if I've really heard an elephant call it much, but a cow sounds like a cow to me. Okay. Oh, I knew it was going to be a mistake bringing Flynn on. Right, we'll see how far we can get up here, and with the signal, see if we can just tuck into the over to the pump just over here. Couple of things before I do drop out of signal if it does happen. So the next live stream is September, where we're doing the red squirrel again for Red Squirrel Week, and the October one I've got confirmed. We're going to head out onto the Strangford Lock shoreline with Andrew, who's my line manager. He's the coastal countryside manager for East Down. We're going to actually be walking on the Greyabby Bay shoreline area, so a real good chance by October to talk all things big migratory birds out on the loch. Most of them should have arrived by October, so that's going to be a real treat. We're hoping to possibly try and do something just to talk about Anne's Point and the sea plantation. There's a lot of complications with sort of access and other issues that happen there. So one day I promise that we'll get something in there. I know a lot of you have been asking about the sea plantation. Fantastic history. Just an absolute nightmare of access issues, lots of problems with invasive species there and other antisocial behaviour problems. So one day we'll get that fitted in. It'll be good to do that because I mean it is a fascinating sight. But in the meantime, we'll see if we can get to this pump here, and let me know if it starts dropping out. But just so you know, I'll spin the camera around here. There we go. We're just heading up to the dairy with the rose garden that was obviously restored, which is open now, of course, for anybody who didn't know. And various tenant properties and our base actually at the farm itself. So I'm going to head up the hillside, see if we can get down that way and try and stay in signal. Let's pick up if there's got any other questions. Yeah, okay. So Jackie asked, how can I get Trails Map? There is one of the PDF versions of our Trails Map on our website, Jackie. I'm not 100% sure if it's the most up-to-date version. One of the problems we've got at the moment now is that, well, originally it was we were opening so many trails every year that it changed so often. We were just keeping it as the online versions. Unfortunately now the whole trails development side of things has just ground to a complete halt. All projects have stopped, and we don't know when they're going to kickstart again. So we're sitting with our current trails network, and we'll be refreshing the various sort of digital bits soon. But yeah, have a look on our Mount Stewart, so nationaltrust.org.uk/Mount Stewart, and it should be in there on the things to do section, or if you just Google Mount Stewart National Trust Trails, probably come up there too. And I think there is a version available on our Facebook page as well. Just off the top of my head. Oh, it's a little wren just came up and popped out, sitting on the side of the fence there. There he goes. So the top of, well, almost the top of Bean Hill actually. Hopefully I'm still in signal. This little pocket of woodland here was filled to the understory here with laurel and rhodie. We cleared that. It was one of the first things I did actually when I started here in 2015. We've had a bit of an issue with snowberry, which is the stuff here which has been sprayed off a few times, but it's been replanted and the understory is filling out really nicely. In fact, that's one of the 2016 planting trees just there, and here we are up at the base. So the ranger base is here, and there's this lovely big old turkey oak. So I did a little video on about how we phoenixed this limb here. So prune it down, and you see all the new growth coming out of the limb here where it's propped itself up, still connected just there. So this big, it's a big oak. Really quite a definitive landscape feature here, this turkey oak, sitting just on top of Bean Hill. There's the tank reservoir up there, and that's again where the house was proposed to have been originally. You know, we'll go up there in a moment just to finish, and I think we can just see the pump from here. Yeah, there it is. You can see the big pump head from the reservoir just there. I'll see if I can. There we go. So it sits on a plinth, and that would have served all of the walled garden, farm complex, and everything. There's actually just a bit of more of a modern feature. This little ivy covered building, there's a little cart weigh station, which is really interesting, where all the materials and produce that would have come out of the walled garden or out of the farmscape would have been weighed, obviously, before it went off to market. Now, whether that was just for their own tracking or whether it was to make sure nothing got pilfered on the journey between here and the market, I think that's up for debate, but there we go. Yeah, Finn's been a good help. Yeah, Hazel, thanks. He does all right sometimes. I think it's just like all kids, you know, it's when they don't learn when to sort of stop. It's quite off-putting sometimes, but yeah, he's a good kid. He's a good kid. So we'll finish up here right on the top of Bean Hill, and just as if perfect timing, the mist is just starting to clear actually, and you can sort of make out the lot. Look at this big sunflower head here. That'll brighten your screens up. Look at that, and all the seeds just starting to form there now. What a cracker! That's a really good one, that. There we go. Let's finish up. A little bit of white campion there. That was actually the red campion's the native campion. This was brought over with the Romans. originally. Virtually the same species, but not quite. Got some creeping thistle here, which is ripping up my legs as I get to the top. Oh, there we are. Look at that, so we just start to see the lock. Starting to clear now. It's beautiful. So, I think we'll call it a day on this one. A little bit of a shorter live stream compared to normal. We're in a bit of a transitionary side. Heather says, no mistake bringing your son. Yeah, he's alright. He's a charmer, but you don't have to live with him. So, as ever, I'm so glad that you guys joined and finding this useful. So we're sticking with the monthly live streams. Next one's all listed on the Facebook page there. And do get those comments and questions in, because they really steer what we're doing here, and what you want from this, this content. And obviously we'll hopefully get back in with some of the gardens team at some point or another. But again, we're still working on this really uncertain structure. And all of us are right in the middle of a big consultation when it comes to big staff structure changes and things like that. So if you're visiting and we're perhaps not quite as jolly and happy as we normally are, that's why. So yeah, bear with us, guys. We're going through a huge transition. And I know obviously some of you are watching are involved in that as well. So, we're all in this together, and hopefully the organisation will come out the other side still intact, and then, we can rebuild and recover potentially bigger and better than before. It's going to take time, and the legacy of COVID, globally speaking, is just it's unfathomable. In a bigger scale of things. I think the overall impact it's going to have on the conservation sector, I don't think we're really going to feel that for another couple of years, because a lot of NGOs have like fixed pot funds, which are protected at the moment, but they come to an end, in the next 1, 2, 3 and 4 years. And will they be renewed? Will there be anything? I don't know. So far, the government's green recovery, how do I say this politely? It's a green-washed recovery. It's not great, but it's a start. But geez, we've got to do something a bit better, to be honest. So I'll get my little soapbox for a minute just before I close and say, speak to your local authority, speak to your MPs, demand something better that's a more sustainable future, because something has to change here, and we're showing that it can happen. But there needs to be support structures to help people transition into that, especially when it comes to the agricultural sector and as well as the construction sector as well. So, without further ado, I don't think there's any more massive questions. Anne asks, is it still members only admission? No, we've always had admission open to everybody. We've just got that cap on overall visitors. I think this was possibly the first week that we didn't completely fill up. So it's still online pre-booking. Obviously members, you still have to book, but you obviously don't get charged, and you can still pay for entry visits as well. But it's all done through the booking system at the moment. Just off one of the calls yesterday, saying that we should, in theory, hopefully be able to take card payments soon. But I can't 100% guarantee that's going to happen anytime soon. Again, we have to work with all these restrictions around cash handling and all this sort of thing. And for us, the infrastructure is completely different now. So we normally, we're obviously dealing with entry just purely on the gate at the moment with the booking system. But the one thing I will close with the booking system after is it 8 weeks, 9 weeks. Do you know what? Everyone who's actually here is probably getting the better visitor experience than they've ever had, because actually the overall carrying capacity of the property can actually take the numbers that are here at the moment, and people are dispersing, and they get the experience of Mount Stewart as it was probably intended to be, which is a certain amount of solitary experience, without loads and loads of people here all at once. But I know that doesn't work for everybody, and not everybody can come on weekdays. So yeah, we're working with all of those. But again, this is why the live streams are so important as well, to bring content to you guys who can't get here too. So yeah, Hazel says, looking forward to the red squirrels. You've still got that flipping grey one. Right, well, get in touch with the local group up there. I think I forget where it was. You were Cumber direction or North Down. But anyway, there are local people that will be able to sort it out for you as the invasive species that it is. And of course, we excursions we're actually dealing with here at Mount Stewart right now, and some of the nearby locations. So August is the time that they start to move down the peninsula again, so we've got a few challenges there. So thanks everybody, and I think I'll finish up here for today. And any questions I've missed, I'll jump on the comments here at lunch. And as always, I have every Tuesday for a Mount Stewart moment content directly from me, occasionally a Friday, Saturday or a Sunday. Gardens have Wednesdays, the house has Thursdays, and then Mondays are your photos that you've been sending in every week, which is really nice to see. Some fantastic images coming in, which is brilliant. And Fridays is kind of like an anything goes. So yeah, everybody have a lovely weekend coming up. I'm actually going to take the rest of today off, which is great, hence why obviously Flynn's with me. I've got the team in tomorrow, which will be brilliant, and gearing up for, try and enjoy the rest of the race. So best wishes everybody,